You've been retired so long you probably forgot how to work. My daughter Sarah laughed during Christmas dinner, her voice cutting through the warm holiday atmosphere like a cold blade. The comment hung in the air as my hands trembled slightly while I cleared the dishes, not from age, but from anger that had been building for months. That night, I logged into my laptop and checked my business account. $47,000 that month alone. I decided it was time to stop hiding. Before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe. And please tell us which city you're watching from, and whether you've faced a similar situation to my situation in the comments below. My name is Margaret. I'm 67 years old, and I live in Columbus, Ohio. I had been a registered nurse for 38 years before retiring at 65. I'd worked in emergency rooms, managed intensive care units, and had literally held people's lives in my hands during their darkest moments. But somehow, sitting at my own kitchen table surrounded by my family, I felt invisible. Like all those years of expertise and experience had evaporated the moment I'd hung up my scrubs for the last time. It had started small, the dismissive comments. When my son David complained about his struggling marketing business, I had offered suggestions based on my years of managing hospital departments and coordinating with insurance companies. "Mom, healthcare is totally different from real business," he'd said, not even looking up from his phone. When I'd mentioned reading about digital marketing strategies, Sarah had laughed. "You barely know how to use Facebook, Mom. Leave the business stuff to people who understand it." But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had been teaching myself things they couldn't even imagine. It started during the early months of retirement, when the silence of my empty house in Columbus became too much to bear. I'd always been curious about the medical billing issues I'd encountered during my nursing career, the endless inefficiencies and communication breakdowns between hospitals, insurance companies, and patients. So I started researching. First, it was just articles about healthcare administration. Then online courses about medical coding. Before long, I was deep into healthcare compliance regulations, insurance claim processing, and the digital systems that were revolutionizing patient care. I discovered a world of independent consultants who helped small medical practices navigate the complex web of modern healthcare bureaucracy. The learning curve was steep. I spent hours every night after my family assumed I was watching television, instead hunched over my laptop in the spare bedroom, taking notes, completing certifications, building a knowledge base that combined my decades of hands-on medical experience with cutting-edge healthcare technology. My first client came through an online platform where retired healthcare professionals offered consulting services. Dr. Amanda Chen, who ran a small family practice, was drowning in insurance claim denials and compliance issues. My proposal was simple. I would review their processes, streamline their billing procedures, and train their staff, all remotely, all for a fraction of what the big consulting firms charged. The results were immediate. Within 2 months, Dr. Chen's practice saw a 40% reduction in claim denials and a 60% faster turnaround on payments. Word spread quickly in the tight-knit community of small medical practices. My phone started ringing. My email inbox filled with requests for consultations. But I kept it quiet. Part of me enjoyed the secret, the knowledge that while my family saw me as a relic from a simpler time, I was actually at the forefront of a rapidly evolving industry. Another part of me was protecting myself. If they knew I was earning money, would they suddenly become interested in my opinions again? Would their respect be genuine, or just another form of exploitation? The business grew. I expanded from billing consulting to full practice management. I helped medical offices implement electronic health records, train staff on new compliance requirements, and even develop custom workflows for specialized practices. My client base grew from local doctors to medical practices across Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. By my second year of retirement, I was earning more per month than David made with his struggling marketing business. By the third year, I was out-earning Sarah's part-time accounting job by 300%. But still I said nothing. The family gatherings became increasingly painful. David would complain about cash flow problems while I sat silently, knowing I'd made more that week than he'd made all month. Sarah would stress about their mortgage payments while I quietly calculated that I could pay off their entire house with 2 months' worth of my consulting fees. The breaking point came that Christmas dinner when Sarah made her comment about me forgetting how to work. I looked around the table, David scrolling through his phone, Sarah's husband complaining about his dead-end job, my own grandson barely acknowledging my presence, and I realized that their disrespect wasn't about my age or capabilities. It was about their own insecurities, their need to diminish me to feel better about themselves. That night, I made a decision. I opened my laptop and began typing an email to the Columbus Business Journal that had been trying to interview me for months about the growing trend of retired healthcare professionals becoming independent consultants. The headline would read, "From Bedside to Business, How One Retired Nurse Built a Six-Figure Consulting Empire." But I had learned something important during those years of building my business in secret. Respect that only emerges when money is involved isn't really respect at all. It's opportunism wearing a mask of family obligation. I helped my grandson with his project because he was young and still learning. But when David asked for a loan to expand his failing business, I politely declined. When Sarah suggested we should have family investment meetings to discuss my financial strategies, I changed the subject. The final validation came 6 months later when I was invited to speak at the National Healthcare Administration Conference in Cleveland. As I stood on the stage, looking out at an audience of hundreds of medical professionals eager to hear my insights, I thought about that Christmas dinner conversation. I pulled out my phone and took a selfie, the conference banner visible behind me. The caption I posted to Facebook was simple: never too old to learn something new. Never too retired to stay relevant. The response was immediate. Comments poured in from former colleagues, new clients, and other retired professionals who'd been inspired to start their own second careers. But the comments that mattered most came from other older women who'd been made to feel invisible by their own families. "You showed me it's never too late to prove them wrong." My daughter said the same thing to me last year. "Thank you for giving me hope. I'm 72 and just started my own consulting business because of your story." I smiled as I read each comment. I'd started this journey to prove something to myself, to reclaim my sense of purpose and value. But I'd ended up proving something much more important. That dismissing someone because of their age isn't just cruel, it's also incredibly stupid. That evening, back in my home office in Columbus, I opened my laptop and checked my monthly earnings, $52,000. My best month yet. I had 3 new client calls scheduled for tomorrow, 2 speaking engagements booked for next month, and a healthcare technology company that wanted to hire me as a consulting advisor. My phone buzzed with a text from David. "Mom, I've been thinking about what you said about not needing loans. Could we maybe talk about business partnerships instead?" I looked at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. I had work to do, clients who valued my expertise, and a business that grew stronger every day. I didn't have time to educate adults about respect, especially when they'd already proven they were slow learners. As I prepared for my video call with a medical practice in California, I caught my reflection in the laptop screen. I looked confident, professional, successful. I looked exactly like what I was, a woman who had never forgotten how to work, who had simply been waiting for the right opportunity to show everyone else what they'd been too blind to see. The best part? This was only the beginning.